Hello friends, welcome to technical and option chain analysis. So before we start our Nifty option chain analysis, let's see what has Nifty done on Friday. So as we can see over here, Nifty closed around at 11,239 and it opened around at 11,257. It means 18 points of gap up opening. So if we see when the Nifty opened, it was continuously going up. It broke our major resistance 11,300 and it was still going up. But as we have discussed in a previous couple of videos, I will show you again. See, this is going to be a very strong resistance that we have discussed in our previous videos as well. The price is around 11,367, and if we see even on Friday, Nifty made a high of around 11,362, and we can see in the 15-minute candlestick chart, Nifty tried to go above to this particular line, but it was rejected. And if we see the another region, I'll show you. If we see the 2-minute candlestick chart, let me delete this. Yeah. And if we draw the trend line, as we have already discussed, that Nifty was in a downtrend in 2 hours candlestick chart in previous couple of videos. And if we connect this highs, then if we can see in a 15-minute candlestick chart now, see, we can see clearly over here that Nifty tried to go to above to this trend line, but it was rejected, and finally the downfall started. And we can see the intensity of selling was too high that Nifty started to downfall from 11,360 and Nifty made a low of almost 11,189. So now let's go to the 5-minute candlestick chart. Now, as we have discussed in our previous videos as well, that 11,200 is going to be a very strong support. Then we can see that this candle at time 10:45, it broke the 11,200, but in a very next candle the buyers came, and we can see finally the Nifty started the uptrend. So as we can see over here, in the further time, we can see at around 2 p.m. Nifty tried to go above to this downtrend line, but it was rejected in a very next candle. And again, if we see at the candle 305, we can see Nifty tried to go above to this trend line, but it was rejected, and finally the Nifty closed at 11,301, which is near to our strong resistance, which was 11,300. So now let's go to the option chain and we'll try to find out support and resistance for the 14th of October, which is on Monday. So as Nifty closed at 11,305, we'll start our study at 11,300. First of all, we'll study the puts to find out support, and then we'll study the calls to find out the resistance. So let's see what we have at 11,300. So at 11,300, if we see, the change in open interest is 4.7 lakh contracts, and the cumulative open interest is almost 7.8 lakh contracts. And if we see the net change is minus 43, it means put traders or put seller sold the contracts at 11,300. So what is the thinking of put traders or put sellers? They will sell the contracts at particular strike price only when they feel that Nifty is going to sustain above to that strike price, which is 11,300. Now if we see further down at 11,200, we can see the change in open interest is almost 5 lakh contracts, and the cumulative open interest is almost 11 lakh contracts. And if we see the net change is minus 31, it means again the put writers sold the contracts. And if we see further down at 11,100, we can see the change in open interest is almost 1.8 lakh contracts, and the cumulative open interest is 7.6 lakh contracts. Now after studying these strike prices, we can see the highest change in open interest is at strike price 11,200. So this is going to be a very strong support for the Nifty on a Monday. But still, if we see the highest cumulative open interest still is at strike price 11,000. Strike price 11,000, which is almost 11 lakh contracts. So after studying this strike prices, if we can see that 11,200 is going to a very strong support, and if Nifty try to go further down, then 11,100 is going to be our next strong support. Now let's go to the call side and we'll try to find out resistance. So let's see what we have at strike price 11,300. We can see the change in open interest is 2.8 lakh contracts and the cumulative open interest is almost 11.9 lakh contracts. And as the net change is plus 23, it means call buyers bought the contracts at strike price 11,300. Now if we see on the above side, we can see the change in open interest is almost 6.7 lakhs at strike price 11,400 and the cumulative open interest is almost 14 lakhs. So, and if we see further down at strike price 11,500, then we can see the cumulative open interest is almost 14 lakhs and the change in open interest is 5.1 lakh contracts. And if we see the net change is positive for all these strike prices, it means the call buyers bought the contracts at this strike price. But there is one point. If we see at this strike price, see the change in open interest is only 2.8 lakh contracts, and but the cumulative open interest is almost 11.9 lakh contracts. It means the call writers or call sellers who sold the contracts in the previous sessions, they have not unwind their positions at this strike prices. If we see 11,300, 11,400 and 11,500, we can see there is a big difference between the cumulative open interest and the change in open interest. It means there is not any panic conditions on the call writer sides. So after studying this calls strike price on call side, we can still see that 11,300 is going to be our first resistance, and then if Nifty try to go above to this strike price, then 11,400 is going to be our second resistance. And further, if the intensity of buying is too high, then 11,500 is going to be our third strong resistance. But as we have already discussed in the technical chart, that still the Nifty has not let me go to the 2 hour candlestick chart. We can clearly see that Nifty did not close above to this trend line with a strong bullish candle. So still it indicates the negative trend in the Nifty. So until and unless Nifty go above to this trend line, then the Nifty still is in a bearish trend. But if we see the chart of the Nifty, see this was the first high, then this was the first low, then this was the lower high, then this is the lower low, then this was the lower high, and this was the lower low. So we can clearly see that this Nifty is in a downtrend. But from this particular price, if we see that this was the low, that Nifty made this high, then this was the lower higher low, which indicates that in the further side the Nifty can go upside, but still the Nifty has to break this trend line with a bullish candle. So after studying this technical and option chain analysis, and if we want to bound a Nifty in a range for the Monday, then according to my analysis, this is going to be a 11,200 to 11,500. We can see the put writers or put sellers are selling contracts in a above strike price. Previously we have seen that put buyers or put sellers, put sellers or put writers sold the contracts in a lower side around at 11,000 and 11,100. But today we can see that highest change in open interest is at strike price 11,200. So this indicates a little bullish trend in the Nifty. So according to my analysis, the range would be 11,200 to 11,400. So traders, again, this is just my analysis. Do your own analysis before making any trade, because whatever the profit or loss you will make, that will be yours. So thank you friends for watching this video, and if you like it, then please subscribe our channel and hit the like button. Thank you friends.